The mahogany-paneled office of Harrison and Associates felt like a theater stage, with my family playing their well-rehearsed roles of concerned relatives. My brother Michael sat smugly beside our father's lawyer, while my sister Diana pretended to dab tears from her perfectly made-up eyes. And finally, Mr. Harrison adjusted his glasses, regarding the Montgomery Family Trust and all associated properties. He paused dramatically, glancing at me with what seemed like pity. Ms. Emma Montgomery shall be excluded from all trust disbursements and property holdings. Michael didn't even try to hide his smirk. It's for the best, sis. You never did understand real estate like father did. I sat quietly, wearing my cheap suit that cost more than Michael's monthly mortgage. If they only knew that while they were fighting over father's trust, I'd built Montgomery Capital into one of the largest private real estate investment firms in the city. Furthermore, Harrison continued, the Highland Plaza development project shall be divided between Michael and Diana Montgomery, with full development rights and... Actually, I interrupted softly, Highland Plaza was sold this morning. The room froze. Michael's smirk faltered. What are you talking about? That's impossible. I pulled out my phone, displaying the sale confirmation. Frost Developments acquired it at 8 a.m., along with the surrounding 3 blocks. Frost Developments? Diana's voice went up an octave. But they're impossible to compete with. They buy everything worth having in this city. Of course they did. Because Frost Developments was my company, operating under a different name. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. Well, it doesn't matter, Michael recovered quickly. We still have the Riverside project and the downtown portfolio. Those are the real prizes anyway. I checked my watch, Cartier, though they'd never recognize it under my sleeve. You might want to check on those too. Diana's perfectly manicured hands trembled as she grabbed her tablet, pulling up the property listings. No, this can't be right. Riverside was sold last week, and downtown is under contract. All to Frost Developments, I confirmed calmly. They've been quite active lately. Michael's face reddened. This is ridiculous. Those properties were promised to us. Father specifically. Father promised you properties he no longer owned, I corrected. He sold the development rights to Frost months ago. Rather desperately, I might add, trying to cover his debts. The silence in the room was deafening. Even Mr. Harrison looked uncomfortable. What debts? Diana whispered. Father was wealthy. The trust. The trust is worth about 1/10 of what you think it is, I replied. Father's been borrowing against it for years, trying to maintain appearances. Those country club memberships and charity galas don't pay for themselves. My phone buzzed with a message from my VP of Acquisitions. Summit Towers just accepted our offer. The Montgomery Children's last potential development site is now ours. Michael must have received the news simultaneously because he suddenly stood up, face purple with rage. Summit Towers too? How are they beating us to everything? I smiled, remembering all the times they'd excluded me from family business discussions, claiming I didn't understand real estate. Maybe Frost Developments just understands the market better, I suggested mildly. After all, some of us actually learned the business instead of just inheriting it. This is insane, Diana declared, mascara starting to run. Every property we've tried to acquire in the last 6 months has been bought by Frost. It's like they're targeting us specifically. Oh, Diana, I stood up, straightening my jacket. You have no idea how specific their targeting is. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat. Perhaps we should return to the trust disbursement. There's nothing to disperse, I cut him off. The properties are gone, the accounts are drained, and the development rights belong to Frost Developments. All that's left is father's debt, which I'm sure Michael and Diana are eager to inherit. You knew, Michael accused, stepping toward me. You knew about this all along. I met his gaze steadily. I know a lot of things, brother. Like how you and Diana convinced father I was incompetent to run the family business. How you manipulated him into excluding me from the trust. How you planned to take everything and leave me with nothing. My phone buzzed again. Final acquisition complete. Montgomery portfolio is now fully under Frost control. But here's what you don't know, I continued, pulling out a business card and placing it on Harrison's desk. I am Frost Developments. The business card sat on Harrison's desk like a loaded gun. Simple, elegant, with just 2 lines of text. Emma Montgomery, CEO Frost Developments. Below it in smaller font. Because some properties are worth more than trust funds. Diana grabbed the card with shaking hands. This is impossible. Frost Developments is worth billions. They own half the skyline. Exactly, I smiled. And now I own every property you and Michael have tried to acquire in the last 6 months. Funny how that worked out. Michael slumped back into his chair, his expensive suit suddenly looking like a costume. But the capital required. The connections. While you were playing real estate developer with father's money, I explained, I was actually learning the business. Every summer internship you mocked, every entry-level job you laughed at, I was building connections, understanding markets, seeing how real property development works. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my CFO. Montgomery Trust debt acquisition complete. We now control all outstanding loans. Oh, and one more thing, I added, checking the message. Frost Developments just bought all of father's outstanding debt. So technically I now own the trust too. Mr. Harrison shuffled through his papers nervously. This changes the legal situation considerably. Indeed it does, I agreed. Instead of inheriting properties, Michael and Diana, you're inheriting debt. About $40 million worth by my last count. You can't do this, Diana whispered, her perfect composure cracking. We're family. Family. I laughed softly. Was it family when you told father I was too emotional to handle business decisions? When you convinced the board I wasn't qualified to manage properties? I walked to the window looking out at the city skyline. My skyline now. See that building there? The one with the Montgomery name still on it? I bought it last month. And that development site Michael wanted for his legacy project? Mine too. In fact, I turned back to face them. Every major property you've looked at since father got sick has been purchased by one of my companies. Companies? Plural. Michael's voice cracked. Frost Developments is just the flagship, I explained. There's also Alpine Investments, Summit Properties, and half a dozen other firms. Did you really think I'd put all my assets under one name? Diana stood up, desperation replacing her usual aristocratic air. What do you want? Money? Position? Name your price. Price. I raised an eyebrow. You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about money. It's about showing you exactly what the sister you dismissed as incompetent can do. I pressed a button on my phone, and the large screen in Harrison's office came to life, displaying a map of the city. Red dots began appearing, each representing a property owned by my companies. Every red dot is mine, I explained as the map filled with color. Every building you wanted, every development site you coveted, every property you thought would secure your legacy, all owned by the sister you left out of the trust. Michael stared at the map in horror. You've been planning this all along. No, brother. You planned this. Every time you undermine me to father, every time you question my capabilities, every time you tried to push me out, you made this inevitable. My phone buzzed one final time. Board meeting scheduled for 3 p.m. Montgomery Trust dissolution to be announced. Now, I gathered my things. If you'll excuse me, I have a board meeting to attend. We're discussing the future of the Montgomery properties. All of them. Wait, Diana called out desperately. What happens to us? I paused at the door, remembering all the family meetings I'd been excluded from, all the decisions made without me. That depends, I replied. How do you feel about starting at the bottom? Learning the business properly this time. The next morning's headlines read like an obituary for my family's pride. Montgomery Trust dissolved, Frost Developments acquires entire portfolio. Below that in smaller print, Emma Montgomery revealed as CEO of billion-dollar real estate empire. I sat in my real office, the entire top floor of the Frost Tower, watching the sun rise over my city while messages flooded my phone. Michael, we need to talk. Please. Diana. The country club is buzzing. What do I tell people? Various relatives. We had no idea. Can we meet? Harrison. The trust dissolution is complete. All assets transferred. My executive assistant, Kate, entered with the morning briefings. Your brother and sister are in the lobby, Ms. Montgomery. They've been there since 7 a.m. I glanced at the security feed on my tablet. They looked different today. Michael's usual arrogance replaced by desperation, Diana's perfect appearance showing cracks around the edges. Send them up, I decided. And get me the employment contracts. They entered my office like chastened children, their eyes widening as they took in the space. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city, including several prominent buildings now bearing the Frost logo where the Montgomery name once stood. Nice office, Michael attempted weakly. Better than the supply closet we gave you at Montgomery Corporation. Quite, I agreed. Amazing what you can afford when you actually build a business instead of inheriting one. Diana sank into one of the visitor chairs, her designer bag sliding to the floor forgotten. How did we not know? All these years. You didn't know because you didn't want to know, I replied, pulling up documents on my desktop. You were too busy playing real estate royalty to notice that your little sister was actually learning the business. But Frost Developments, Michael pressed. The acquisitions, the capital. Started small, I explained. One property then another. Reinvest, expand, repeat. While you were using trust fund money to buy luxury cars, I was building an empire. My phone buzzed with another update. Montgomery Plaza signage being changed to Frost Plaza. Media coverage extensive. The Montgomery name, Diana whispered, following my gaze to the workers outside. It's disappearing. Names are earned, not inherited, I replied. Something father never understood. I pressed a button on my desk and the wall of screens behind me lit up with data. Property holdings, development projects, financial statements. The true scope of my empire displayed in stark detail. By God, Michael breathed. These numbers, they're bigger than Montgomery Corp ever was. Much bigger, I confirmed. Frost Development's market cap is currently 12 times what Montgomery Corp was worth at its peak, before father started borrowing against it. Diana straightened in her chair, her social training kicking in. So what happens now? To us? I slid 2 folders across my desk. That depends on you. These are employment contracts. Entry-level positions in development and property management. Entry-level. Michael sputtered. But we have experience. No, I cut him off. You have inheritance. There's a difference. These positions will teach you the business from the ground up. The way I learned it. And if we refuse? Diana asked quietly. I smiled, remembering all the times they'd given me ultimatums. Then you can explain to your country club friends why you're selling your homes. The debt you inherited isn't going away. My phone buzzed again. Sister's condo and brother's mansion now listed for sale as per instructions. Speaking of homes, I added, checking the message, yours are now on the market. The trust's debt has to be paid somehow. Michael's face went pale. Where are we supposed to live? The company maintains apartments for junior employees, I replied. Small but functional. Perfect for learning the value of earned success. Why are you doing this? Diana asked, tears threatening her perfect makeup. Is it just revenge? I stood up, walking to the window. Look at this city. Really look at it. Every building has a purpose, a function, a reason to exist. But you never saw that. You only saw status symbols and bragging rights. Turning back to them, I continued, this isn't revenge. It's rehabilitation. A chance to learn what I had to learn. That real success isn't inherited, it's built. One property, one project, one day at a time. And if we learn? Michael asked. If we prove ourselves? Then you'll earn your place in this company. Not because of your name, but because of your work. Over the next year, my siblings learned lessons that no trust fund could teach. Michael, starting in property maintenance, discovered what buildings actually need beyond fancy facades. Diana, working in tenant relations, learned that real estate isn't just about prestigious addresses. I watched them change, these proud siblings who had once dismissed me, as they rebuilt their lives from the ground up. 1 year later, I called them to my office again. The city skyline had changed. More Frost logos, fewer Montgomery signs. But the biggest changes were in the people standing before me. Your performance reviews are in. I began opening their files. Both exceptional. It seems you can learn after all. We did, Diana said softly. About business, about property, about family. Which is why, I continued, I'm offering you both promotions. Junior development directors. You'll oversee actual projects now, but under supervision. Thank you, Michael replied, humility replacing his former arrogance. For everything. I raised an eyebrow. For taking your inheritance? For teaching us its real value, Diana answered. Looking out at my city, our city now, perhaps. I thought about the trust that had started all this. About inheritance and earning, legacy and learning. The Montgomery name will return to the skyline, I announced, watching their expressions. But not because of birthright. Because you've earned it. They understood then, these siblings who had once thought inheritance was enough, that some things can't be given. They must be built. To new beginnings, I offered, raising a glass. To earn success, they responded. And as the sun set over our city, casting long shadows across buildings old and new, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't taking everything they wanted. It's teaching them how to truly want something worth having. 5 years later, the city skyline told a different story. The new Montgomery Frost Tower stood as a testament to earned success, its gleaming spire reaching higher than any building our father had ever owned. During the grand opening ceremony, I stood between my siblings, all of us watching as the new sign was unveiled. Montgomery Frost Developments illuminated the night sky, but this time the name meant something different. Remember when we thought inheritance was everything? Diana mused, her business suit now worn with genuine confidence rather than borrowed privilege. Michael nodded, his eyes on the young interns learning the business the way we all should have from the start. We were building our legacy on sand. You taught us to build it on stone instead. The company had grown beyond even my initial vision. Not because of trust funds or family names, but because 3 siblings had finally learned to build something together. To think, Diana said, we once left you out of a trust worth millions and you built something worth billions. No, I corrected her, watching our employees, our real family now, celebrate their shared success. We built this. Once you learned how. As we raised our glasses to the new tower, I thought about Father's trust one last time. He tried to build a legacy through inheritance, but created something far more valuable instead. Children who finally understood that true worth isn't given. It's built, earned, and shared. Together we created something no trust fund could buy. A real family business built on merit instead of birth. And that was worth more than all the inheritances in the world.